Hi, Allison Ziegler here, creator and founder of Allison Ziggy, and you are here live for today's episode of Princess Interrupted, where we are going to be talking all things meditation. If you've ever been in a masterclass, or if you've poked around my YouTube channel, if you've ever really been in my world, 99% of the time, I'm going to lead a meditation in conjunction with whatever we are talking about. Whether it's related to manifestation, whether it's related to something with the nervous system, whether it's related to just feeling better. 9 times out of 10, I will have you tune inward, connect to yourself so that when you go out into the world, you will have different results. There's a whole science behind meditation. And I want to share with you how you can get started with a meditation practice that you can commit to daily, the most effective times for meditation, and I want to explain why this is so effective for changing your life and rewiring your mind. I'm going to give you my hacks, I'm going to give you my secrets, and what kind of episode would this be if I didn't give you any resources to use for meditation? After this, I'm going to make sure to include a link. I led an Instagram Live today where I hosted a meditation that you can use when you are connected with your family. It's a cord cutting meditation. Meditation's gotten a lot of attention lately. You can look on YouTube and find tons of different meditations. You can also find different beats and things that you can listen to whenever you're trying to focus, whenever you're trying to manifest money, subliminals, things like this. I want to talk about the brainwave frequencies that are correlated. The science behind meditation that is so fascinating is that you're actually triggering different brainwave activities internally. I'm someone who in the past was diagnosed with ADHD as well as anxiety, and I took medication for this for a long time. And I also used to have what I refer to as an energy insecurity. Whenever I was on Adderall, I would feel like I needed to be in this really focused state in order to get things done. I used to love going into what I call computer programming mode, where I put my hair in a bun on top of my head and I just knock out something in one sitting because I wouldn't trust myself to focus and get what needed to be done completed. As I started learning about the brain and the different brain waves, it's totally changed my perspective on focus, and it's totally changed my perspective on productivity, and it's also changed my perspective on the necessity of meditation, and it's become a non-negotiable daily part of my world. So I used to be the kind of person who was obsessed with coffee. I would want stimulants to make sure that I was always active. I didn't know what I was doing, but as someone who naturally runs anxious, this actually created a problem. I want to talk about the different brain waves, and I'm going to include in the show notes details on the different frequencies which are registered on a medical device called an EEG. But I'm talking more about the practical science. I'm talking about how this shows up and why it's important in your waking states, particularly pertaining to manifestation, goal setting, and living a life that feels abundant and flow-based. Like, can we say yes, please? Your brain waves. They're obviously different when you're sleeping and dreaming than when you're waking and throughout the day. When you're sleeping, you will teeter between delta and theta waves. This is when you're drowsy, this is when you're tired. Delta waves are associated with deep sleep. There's like no brain activity. Theta waves are associated with creativity and REM sleep. Alpha waves are associated with relaxation, daydreaming, and sleeping. There's 3 different types of beta waves, even in addition to all of the different brain waves that I've just described. Low beta, this is linked to calm focus and introspection. Mid beta is what's triggered during demanding activities. And high beta is whenever your fight or flight gets triggered. Your beta waves are associated with your flight or fight response. Here is where this is important. You may have heard this before. Your subconscious mind is most accessible right before you go to bed and right when you wake up. This is due to your brainwave activity. The mistake that I was making for most of my life, and the mistake that most people make if they aren't aware of this information, is skipping out of the alpha brainwave state and going straight into beta. Beta can be triggered by drinking coffee, and beta waves are associated with your analytical minds, like thinking, critical decision making, these kind of things. When you drink coffee first thing in the morning, right when you wake up, you are actively bypassing the alpha brainwave stage, which is linked to your creativity, your inspiration, your intuition, your flow state, and you are jumping straight into beta. I want to share with you something that one of my doctors had said to me when I was still on Adderall. I was in North Carolina. I had been misdiagnosed. That's honestly what the Princess Interrupted book is, like my misdiagnosis journey. I was talking to my doctor and I had asked her about going off of the antidepressant. I was starting to feel better. And she said, I don't want to take you off of the antidepressant unless I also take you off of the Adderall because you're going to feel anxious and you won't have anything to handle it. I don't remember exactly what I said to her, but I had expressed concern and like fear around going off of the Adderall. And she just, in a way where she was trying to understand, she goes, it's not like it makes you smarter. And at the time, I didn't really care. I was in the mindset, like, I just wanted to get things done. It wasn't until I learned this information about the different brainwaves that I completely changed my perspective of productivity. I've done all the energetic work and I learned that the energy behind what you put into things has more of a bearing than what you get out, than like the amount of pure output you're doing. If you're doing something for the sake of doing it versus if you're doing it because you genuinely are excited by it, that energy is going to come off differently, especially as a creator. But I had never thought about the scientific implications behind it. I had never thought about the fact that this isn't just a thing that people say. This isn't just a state that people talk about. This was a misunderstanding that I had around energy. I would wake up in the mornings and I would sit down and I would do my journaling and I would have my coffee and I would meditate. But I didn't realize that by drinking the coffee while doing the meditation, I was actually blocking the alpha state, which is what you're trying to connect to. When you have a really good, divinely inspired idea, it can be worth more than 20 hours of work. I used to talk to my coach about this, where she said time applies to you differently when you're capable of quantum leaping. Time refers to you differently when you can get things done in an hour that take the normal person a week. And it wasn't until I learned about the implication of the different brainwaves that it finally clicked for me. That the goal wasn't about being more productive or getting more done. The goal was about optimizing the state. And the most optimized state isn't necessarily that super alert beta state, but the more relaxed and at ease state of alpha waves. This is what I associate with flow. If you've seen my Instagram bio, I've updated my name to Flow Coach because this is the work that I do with clients is really helping you tap into your flow, tap into your creativity, tap into your authentic voice, tap into who you truly are, and remove all of the obstacles within your way that have been forcing you to show up as someone other than that, have been forcing you to show up in survival mode or show up from this like go, go, go energy. Without knowing what I was doing when I'm leading these meditations are really activating that alpha state. When the brainwaves are slower, it makes it easier for you to get those intuitive downloads and you're able to hear within the space. You're able to hear in your mind. You're not so focused and concentrated where your entire brain activity is being used. All of these things are very necessary. But as an artist and a creator, you want to receive divine inspiration and divine inspired ideas. Alpha waves are also called the bridge from the conscious to the subconscious. I'm reading a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That was where I started learning this information. And I started to make custom subliminal audios for myself and my clients. I identified where I had limiting beliefs and I affirmed the opposite. And I recorded a subliminal track that repeated these affirmations. Subliminals are audios that can't be heard by the conscious mind. Oftentimes they're set to binaural beats. Binaural means that there are different sounds in each ear, and the beat is a different frequency that's being put off. When I made my binaural beats, I was like, okay, focus. Let's get to work. Let's put these to beta. They started to hurt my mind, and I didn't know what was happening. And it wasn't until I did research and realized that alpha waves are the actual state that you want to trigger within your mind that it started to all make sense. With subliminals, these are different than meditation. You can do them when working. And then hypnosis is also different. But I want to break down the differences between all of these because they're kind of similar. Your mind has what's called a critical faculty. And this is essentially your bullshit meter. And this is where you'll accept or reject new information based on the way that you see yourself and based on the way you view yourself. Let's say that you think that you're lazy. And you just tell yourself an affirmation and you say, I am productive. Your mind is going to say bullshit and reject this affirmation based on the programming that you have on a subconscious level. It isn't until you get beyond the critical faculty that you can implant new beliefs. Your subconscious mind is neutral. It doesn't matter what you plant in it. It doesn't matter if you plant good things, bad things. It's neutral. It doesn't judge good versus bad. Subliminals get below this critical faculty, and that's why they're so effective. Hypnosis also gets beneath the critical faculty, but this is more of a meditation with a slightly different intention. Hypnosis often have what's called an induction, and an induction is a process of prepping the mind to receive the information. You've probably seen it in the movies where people start barking like a dog or like clucking like a chicken and walking around. It's not like that. It's an active rest process. I would say it probably touches on the alpha state, maybe even theta, depending if you're really tired. But it's implanting these beliefs into your subconscious mind where maybe you can hear them, but you've gone beyond the critical faculty through the induction technique where they're able to land and you're able to receive these updated things that you want to be true. I'm also a certified hypnotist. All of these are methods for rewiring your beliefs on a conscious or subconscious level. You can close your eyes and meditate and not rewire a belief, but meditation's really about shifting your state. I've been experimenting with different meditations with different intentions. There are so many episodes where I talk about creative visualization. This is a meditation technique that I've been really practicing. It's future casting and tapping into the energy of your desired future outcome. Your ability to not just predict what the things you want feel like, but to feel them in your body now is directly correlated to your ability to experience them. With manifestation, the mistake that most people make is that they think that the thing that they're desiring is going to change their state, when in reality, it won't. Changing your state is the desired outcome. That's something you have the ability to do now with or without the manifestation. When the manifestation becomes a byproduct, that's when your power is generated, where you do not let the external circumstances dictate the way that you're feeling about yourself, determine how you view yourself. That is when you are in your own personal power, and that's when you are your own inner authority. You just regain your power back from so many scenarios. And you get to this place where if something knocks you off, you don't make it mean anything about yourself and you don't judge yourself, but you're able to use triggers as information for things that you still believe or things that still bother you. You don't get triggered unless something feels true. If someone were to say, you're a bad person, and you're like, no, I'm not a bad person, it wouldn't make you feel bad. But if someone who you broke up with and things are unresolved and messy says you're a bad person, it might trigger a limiting belief like, yeah, I'm a bad person because of this thing. So triggers are ultimately just showing you blind spots where you have healing to do. And I invite you to really keep this in mind as you approach this new holiday. I hope that this helped you understand a little bit more about the relationship between manifestation and meditation. It's going to be so much easier to manifest what you want when you are in that state of inspiration and flow. When your brain goes into fight or flight mode, you actually lose decision-making faculty. So while the beta waves in certain doses can help us make good decisions, when the beta waves are too fast and you go into fight or flight mode, you lose access to your intuition. Really thinking about the speed and what this looks like, you kind of need to just chill and slow things down. I really invite you to think about, if you do creative work, questioning the intention of what you're creating. This is why the intention isn't necessarily to get more done, but to bring more of you to what you're doing and what you're creating, and asking yourself the real why behind what you're doing. When you get clear on these things, it won't matter how much you do, but it's all about the quality, and the quality is so much greater whenever you're able to bring all of you, because you're not scattered. We all know those people that we've sat down with and they're present. You just feel their energy, versus you sit down with someone who's scattered, who's in a rush, who's late, who's all over the place, and they may be physically there, but you can tell they're not all there. There's a different energy, and it's obvious. I invite you to keep this in mind and to start to ask yourself how you want to show up. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? What's the quality of work that you want to put into what you're creating? What's the legacy you're choosing to leave behind? How to keep to a meditation routine. Start short and start with 5 minutes. I really like an app called meditate.me. It's on the App Store, and they have different timed meditations. I have a free printable library with all kinds of mindfulness resources and meditations in there. If you check on my YouTube channel, I have all kinds of meditations that you can access, but just commit to at least 5 minutes a day. That is all you need to start your mind. And you can do this first thing when you wake up. So now that we know the benefits of meditation, which it's really making the most of that active alpha state where you're in a receptive state to receive intuitive insights and downloads, which can make your productivity 1,000 times better. Working on a good idea is way better than working super hard on something that's not going to work and is generated from ego. So this is really an intuition hack. It's a way to tune out the outward noise and tune inward. Understanding the why is a huge benefit to keeping it to a routine, because you know why you're doing it and you are way more incentivized because you know what you're getting out of it. But if you're finding it logistically complicated, first things to ask yourself, are you a morning or a night person? I'm a morning person. I find it really difficult to keep to a night routine. I don't meditate at night. I feel like I'm ready for bed. Sometimes I'll do a sleep hypnosis if I'm in the process of actively rewiring some limiting beliefs. But I know for myself that my meditation routine, my journaling routine, the morning is when I thrive and when I really like to get things done. So understand this about yourself. Start with 5 minutes and really tap in and anchor into what your intention is with this. If you're into it, if your intention is to connect to your intuition, to better quality of work, you're going to be motivated. Find a meditation that you enjoy doing. So I gave you some resources. There's a ton of meditations on YouTube. I listen to meditations a lot. You might end up getting to a space where you feel like you can just set a timer and meditate, but it really is a practice skill. It's a muscle, and you'll get better at it the more that you do it. And you'll find that you get better at life through doing it because you're more able to see what's happening, and you'll be able to make that alpha state more regulated. If you ever get to a state where you have too many heightened beta waves, you can always use meditation as a method to slow your brain down. It's really cool to have a tool where you can actively rewire what's going on in your brain in the moment so that you're no longer lost to these things. I hope that just by learning about it, you are already feeling more incentivized to make this a part of your daily routine. That for me was really the trick that turned this into a habit. But the other thing is just starting small and being honest with yourself about what's going to work. I find that if people try to do too much too soon, it can be easier to give up. But just be honest with yourself. Start where you're at. Start small. Work with what naturally feels good. And remember all of the benefits. I'm now accepting new private clients. And I have a link where you can set up a free complimentary coaching session with me. We'll dive into what's going on internally with you, and we'll even help you rewire some limiting beliefs. The next podcast episode, I really want to record on the power of giving. I did a giving experiment and it brought in so much abundance into my life that I wasn't expecting. So I want to share about that. But I really thought about my goals and what I'm looking to do. And I want this work to reach as many people as possible. And I'd love to help just understand what you're working through, what you like, what you need support from through a coach. And I'd love to be your one-on-one private coach. I am currently at packages through the new year. I just feel so ready to help you change your freaking life. So I love you. I hope this resonates. If this does, please like, please share, please comment. Helps me so much. And I love you. And I'll see you on next week's episode of Princess Interrupted.